Hi everybody, this is Josh from Pomeroy Creative. Thanks for joining me for the second part of this video, looking at creative tools from Autodesk. In our first episode, we sketched out a dwarf king for a customized playing card deck using Sketchbook. Sketchbook is awesome for sketching and just noodling around and getting things conceptualized. That's what I like to use it for. At this point, what we're going to do is bring it into Autodesk Graphic. Graphic is a phenomenal vector-based application. So we're going to take the initial sketches from Sketchbook and bring it right into Autodesk Graphic, where we're going to really refine our illustration and get it ready for these high-quality playing cards. So what we're going to do now is just take this TIFF file and we can just drag this right into Autodesk Graphic, and this will open it up for us and allow us to get to the vector editing part. There's a couple of panels here that I've talked about in other videos. And just for this video, I'm going to simplify this just a little bit. Okay, so we've got our layers panel here. We've got our image loaded up here. The layers panel is much like the one in Sketchbook. You can create new layers, you can rename them, you can rearrange them, you can adjust the opacity, or how transparent they are. And that makes it much easier to work with this object-based illustration now inside of Graphic. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just take my image and rename it. I'm just going to call this the sketch. And I'm renaming the layer itself. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call that my line work. Now there's so many different ways that I could approach refining this illustration. I want to go with still a very sort of handmade ink drawing to begin with, but I can make it much more clean and precise in Autodesk Graphic using vectors. So what I'm going to do first is take down the opacity of my sketch reference here, and I can just do that from right here, this little slider. I'm going to turn off my grid so that's not distracting me. Then I'm going to make sure I'm selected on my line work layer. And also I'm going to lock my sketch layer, which is just next to the eyeball, right to the left of it, directly to the left. You can just click there and lock that layer. Now I can't even move it around, which is what I want. I want it to stay right there. Now I'm going to just zoom in here a little bit, and I want to talk just a couple of minutes about some different tools that you could use and different ways that you could approach illustrating or tracing using vectors an illustration like this. The first one that I want to show you is the pen tool. Now the pen tool is super powerful, and you can do all kinds of things with it. If I wanted to make this more like a technical illustration, I could definitely do that. And let me just change this here. So I'll take the fill off, and I'm just going to use a stroke. And so you see how clean and precise you could get your line work here. This is not quite the look that I'm going for this illustration. I want to still have kind of a thick to thin variation, much like I did it with the brush on paper, but with the knowledge that I'm making this in vector, it's infinitely scalable. There's not going to be any texture from the paper whatsoever, and it's just going to look really crisp. So the pen tool is great for maybe some other things. We might look at that a little bit later. The brush tool is another tool that you can use, and this is very much like a brush, like painting with ink. And the brush settings are right up here. You can see some of the preset brushes here. They're tapered lines. They respond to your tablet pressure if you're using a drawing tablet. And let me just show you how that looks. So the harder I press, the thicker the line is. The lighter I press, the thinner the line is. And you can get some really, really nice variation there. Now these are all still vector line segments, which means I can use my direct selection tool, which is A on the keyboard, and manipulate these lines however I want, even after I've drawn them, which is really, really great and really, really powerful. So I'm going to start with some brush lines here and get a little bit more organic feel going on here. Now my width up here is set to 5 points and my smoothing is set to 20%. That smoothing is really, really helpful because you can see I could be all kinds of wobbly, and it just smooths it out and it makes it look really, really nice. And as you see, I'm kind of drawing in small passes for a couple of reasons. One, because that smoothing is on, if I want to have sharp edges, it's a lot easier to draw one line and then draw another line to get the line that I'm looking for. I can also focus a little bit more on the pen pressure when I'm just doing a couple of lines at a time. So let's see where we're at right now. I can just toggle off my sketch layer and look at how clean and crisp and precise this line work is. Now you could spend a lot of time at this point going to your direct selection tool. You can zoom in nice and tight and really refine this as precise as you'd like it to be. Again, I'm looking for something that is still somewhat hand-drawn looking, but this way I don't have to, you know, doctor up all my line drawing from paper, trying to get out, you know, the paper texture or the bad lighting or the scanner lines or whatever. This is just great. This really makes it very, very easy to get beautiful lines, and they're just, you know, black as black could be, and I like that as well. So you see, I don't have to draw exactly what's there. I like to interpret what I've done in Sketchbook and kind of give it maybe yet another pass, another creative look, and draw some things that aren't there, and maybe leave out some things that are there. Another really cool thing you can do, because this is object-based, these are essentially objects or elements on the page, is you can duplicate these. You can just do an Alt-Drag, and so I can get the exact same line if I want that kind of precision, and then go ahead and use my direct selection tool to edit those. So it really speeds up your workflow, gets you to a finished product that much quicker. I'm just using the shortcut keys on my keyboard: V for brush tool, A for direct selection tool, V is for the normal selection tool that will select your entire shape rather than just a point of the shape. And if I don't like the lines that I make, I can always do a Command Z, or I can do my direct selection tool and change them. For these gems, I could actually use an ellipse now, and I might do that here. Draw out an ellipse, and then I can kind of push this around again with the direct selection tool. Or I could keep it nice and perfect and just rotate it. Again, I can duplicate that with an Alt drag. I can resize these. And right now I'm drawing with a solid black stroke and no fill. Being able to use these shapes is really helpful for this kind of thing. And if I want to, really make sure that everything lines up nicely. In fact, what I could do is line all these up and then use my rotate, which is just R, and rotate these right into place. I'll go back to my brush tool and fill in some of these details. Again, we can now go back and check and see what we have made, and just by hiding our sketch layer there. So hopefully what you can see is that we're achieving a very organic, sort of painterly look, much like you would get with, an old school nib and ink, or brush and ink. But with the precision of vector graphics and being able to manipulate those however we like. So a lot of those little imperfections or whatever I like to leave in there, but if they don't look good to me, I can always change them and really be able to refine this illustration just how I would like. And the output is infinite because it's a vector. So my line work will be able to be exported as an SVG or a PDF, and I can blow this up to any size that I want. I convert all of these lines into paths, so that I don't have to worry about the line weight changing on me later on if it's opened in a different application. Or I can just export this as a incredibly high resolution PNG. I could paint it in a different program, or I could continue this same process, create a new layer, rename this something like my colors, color layer, and then maybe use the pen tool to go ahead and create solid shapes underneath my line work. And I could do this much like I would do in Sketchbook or Photoshop and create my flats. Can you see how that's underneath my line work? I could also use gradient fills. So I'm just going around with the pen tool until I create a shape with a solid fill. And again, because it's vectors, I can go in and tweak these however I'd like. So there you have it, guys. I'm going to continue working on this. Please check out Autodesk. Check out sketchbook.com as well as graphic.com. Get your copy of Autodesk Graphic. It's a fantastic vector-based application that I think has a very easy learning curve, and I think it will really help you get into being able to create logos and illustrations like this quickly and easily. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up and share it with a friend. Also subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you guys in the next video.